I welcome all of you to the Institute for Spirituality and Health. And today we begin a 6-week series on world religions, and our teacher is the Reverend Dr. Afzaal Firdous. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He was born in Pakistan and was born in a Christian family, but on one side his grandparents were Hindu, on the other side they were Muslim. So I can't think of anybody more perfect to teach world religions since he grew up in that environment than Dr. Firdous. Dr. Firdous received his Master of Divinity degree at SMU University in 2002. He continued his studies and received a PhD in world religions at Louisiana Baptist University. He has served in East Texas and is ordained pastor for the Methodist Church, served there for many years, and came to Houston, has completed a chaplaincy program at St. Luke's Episcopal Hospital. So he has touched just about every base. He comes to us with great credentials, letters of recommendation from those who have worked closely with him, and we are certainly honored to have Dr. Firdous here today. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Firdous.
Thank you very much, Dr. Graham. It's an honor to be here this afternoon. I welcome all of you again, and I hope that our journey together would be a joyful journey. Today we are going to study Hinduism, and Hinduism generated in India, and we would be talking about India in a second, but I wanted to let you know that we are going to cover 6 major religions of the world. And starting from the top, they are Christianity, Judaism. This is the sign of Hinduism, which is Om. This is a crescent and the star, which is a sign of Islam. This is the wheel of Buddhism, and this is Shintoism, this is Sikhism, this is Baha'ism, and this is Jainism. So India, as you know, is a big country. It has over 1 billion people living in this country. There are more than 122 dialects, more than 122 languages spoken in India, and it is the world's largest democracy. And it is in the South Asian region, and next to it, on the left-hand side, right here is the country which is now called Pakistan, but it all used to be one big subcontinent, and it was called India. And India has been recognized from many, many centuries as the land of gold and silver and spices and all kinds of things. So first the Greeks invaded India, then the Mughals invaded, and then the Turks invaded, and then the Afghans from Afghanistan invaded India, and India became one of the culturally and socially and religiously rich country in the world because of all those invaders who came to India and brought their culture and their languages and their food and their attire and everything to this land. Our study is related to ancient India. And in ancient India, there was Indus Valley civilization. Everybody is familiar with Indus Valley civilization because that is one of the most ancient civilizations of the world. Ganj-Dareh in Iran, and in China, in Palestine, and in India, all these civilizations simultaneously started around 9,000 years ago. And this Indus Valley civilization is 9,000 years old. In the Indus area, the map of that state where this Indus Valley civilization took place is called Sindh. It was called Sindh. and the river that flew through this state was called Indus River, Indus River. But the original word for the land was Sindh, and it was called Sindhu, and when the Arabs came, they called it Hindu. But originally the word was Sindhu. And because of Sindhu, it became Hindu and then Hindustan, which means India. The ancient people of India were Dravidians. Dravidians were short and dark, and they are the one who had flourished this civilization, which is known as Indus Valley civilization. There were also nations of Kol and Santhal and Bhil living in the area, and they developed very advanced, very civilized cities such as Mohenjo-daro, Chanodaro, and Harappa. And I happen to be, my grandfather's village is 17 miles from Harappa, which is the second biggest ancient civilization after Mohenjo-daro. And these are the ruins of Mohenjo-daro found in the Indus Valley or the Sindh province. And Sir John Marshall in 1927, he was a British, he was on a trip, and he discovered this city of Mohenjo-daro, which is now located in Sindh. And he discovered that the people were very civilized. They had paved streets, they had bathrooms, they had sewage system at that time. We are talking about many, many thousand years ago. But they had a sewage system, they had granary storage system, and the pot shards that were discovered, most of them have not been deciphered yet, but some of them have been, and they were able to see that people lived a very polished life, and many of those artifacts are available in the British Museum, and I would encourage you that anytime you are in London, go visit that section, and you would find many things from Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. But that civilization flourished in early in the second millennium, and they were very polished and advanced people, and their languages that they spoke were Punjabi, Kannadi, Telugu, Tamil, and the literature they created, the rituals they created, the religion they created was a different religion. But then we had the Aryans who invaded India around 1500 BC. There is not a fixed date on that. Some say they came around 1500 BC, some say around 2200 BC, but 1500 is approximately all right. And they came with a new language, which was Sanskrit. Sanskrit was their language, and then because of the emergence or interaction of Sanskrit with Punjabi and Kannadi and Telugu and Tamil, a new language came into being, which was Hindi, and then after Hindi, Urdu evolved, which is now the fourth largest language of the world. And because of the interaction with the local people, and because of the emergence, a new culture came into being, and that was the Aryan culture. So there are 4 races in the world: the Semitics, the Mongolites, the Nigerites, and the Aryans. And today we are going to talk a little bit about the Aryans. Nobody is sure where the Aryans came from. This picture is of Afghan women. These are Afghan women, and they claim that they are the pure Aryans. And nowadays, there is so much study going on everything, so everything is available on the web, and you can see for yourself. And about the origins of the Aryans, some say that they were from Asia Minor. So we don't know if they were Asiatic, or they were Afghans, or they were Iranians. But around 1500 BC, uh, the dispersion of the Aryans started taking place, and they came to India, they came to Iran, and they came to Turkey and Germany. As we all know that Hitler was very proud Aryan. He thought himself the purest Aryan race, and he did a lot of work, and all he did was in search of his ancestors, and to prove that Aryans were the most supreme race, and they were the best race. So Afghans claim that they are the Aryans, and there are proofs that the Afghan people are tall, they have blue eyes, they have colored eyes, they have fair complexion, so they might be right. Then the ancient Iranians, or even Iranians today, claim that they are the pure Aryans. And then Asia Minor, of course, which was Turkey, ancient Turkey. And then the Kurds and the Kurds in the northern Iraq, they also claim that they are the pure Aryans. So nobody for sure can say that these are the purest Aryans, but there are Afghans and Iran and Asia Minor and Kurds and some of the Iraqis, they are all Aryan race, and we know that the Germans and the Turks and the other, those who are taller, those who are colored eyes, please come in, fair complexion, they are all Aryan people. When the Aryans came to India, they were not very kind to the local people. They started killing them, they started slaughtering them, and the local people, who were mostly Dravidians, they started running away from them, and most of them went to the south. The south of India is Odisha, so a lot of people went into the jungles of Odisha and Madras and started living there. And as I have said earlier, that because of their emergence with the local people, Sanskrit gave birth to Brij Bhasha and Hindi and Urdu, and a new culture came into being, and that culture also brought a new religion. And the Aryans who came, they introduced a new theory about the creation of the human beings. They said all people were created from Brahma. Brahma is the creator God. We will talk about him later. And the Brahmins were created from his head. Therefore, their job was to attain knowledge, to explore for knowledge, to create knowledge, to write books, and to interpret the knowledge for the people. That was the priestly class, the Brahmins, and that they imposed themselves as the super race, as the superior people to the rest of the people. And then they said the Kshatriyas were created from the arms of the Brahma God. Therefore, their job was to defend the society. So they were warrior. Most of the people who belonged to the Kshatriya race, they were the soldiers. And their job, as defined by the Brahmins, was to fight for the country and protect the society. And then the Vaishyas, they believed, were created from the stomach of Brahma God. Therefore, their job was to sustain the society, so they did the trade work. They were the businessmen, they were the one who traded with other people and other countries, so their job was to make money for the society. And then they believed that the Sudras were created from the feet of the Brahma. Therefore, they were the lowest, and their job was to do all the dirty work of the society. So they were not given any kind of status in the society, they were not given any respect in the society, and they were treated as untouchables. They had their colonies out of the city where they lived, and they were not allowed to come in and have interaction with the Vaishyas and Kshatriyas, and the Brahmanas, no way at all. So These days, the Sudras have changed themselves to be called Dalit. They are not called Shudras anymore, but in the ancient India, they were the untouchables and they were called the Shudras. When the Aryans came and they brought the new religion, new language, new culture, they also brought a new religion. And the religion at that time was called the Vedic religion. Vedas are the holy books of the Indians, and the most ancient book is the Rig Veda, which is almost 400,000 years old book. Some say 7,000 years old, some say 4,000 years old, but it's one of the most ancient books in the world. And Rig Veda is comprised of the hymns written for the praise of the gods. Samaveda is an extension of the Rig Veda, and it also contains the hymns for the sacrifices and the way to offer the sacrifices, the libations. Yajurveda is also the extension. So basic book was written Rig Veda, and then the priest and the Rishi Munis made little alterations and made it fit to their needs. So after Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, and Atharva Veda were also created. The religious leaders at that time were Pandits and Rishi Munis, and the picture on the right hand is the picture of a Rishi Muni, the one who left the world and just devoted his life to attain the knowledge and to spread it with the disciples and to just be there in the wilderness or on a top of a mountain or in a cave in order to attain knowledge. The practice of the religion at that time was the sacrifices. That was the main practice, that they offered sacrifices to the gods. And the greatest god at that time was Agni, which is fire. The fire god was the greatest god, and then there was a god of sky, and then there was a god of wind, and then there were gods of night and day. But the most revered god was the god Agni, which is the god of fire. When the Vedic period stopped, which was almost for 1,000 years, the Upanishad period or Vedanta period started. The Vedanta means end of Veda, end of Vedic period. That's what Vedanta means. So the Vedas are divided into two parts. For example, Rig Veda, the first part is called the hymn part, and the second part is called the Janana Veda, and that is the part which is known as Upanishad. Upanishad deals with the wisdom and the philosophy. There are about 108 Upanishads. They are very small and 1 page or 2 page or 3 page, but they are the sacred book of the Hindus. And Chandya Yoga and Mukunda and Isa and Kena and Katha are the major Upanishads of the Hindus. And in Vedas, the main thing was the sacrifice to the gods, but in the Upanishad period, in the Vedanta period, is knowledge, seeking of the knowledge. And as I said earlier, that is Vedanta, that's the end of the Vedic period. And at the beginning of the Hinduism, during the Vedic period, there were, as I said, many gods, many gods. Agni was the greater, and then Vishnu came along, and the others came. But the main concept at the end of Vedanta was oneness of God. They started with many gods, but after 1,000 years, they started realizing that we need to concentrate on one God. So they came to conclude that there is only one supreme being, that is God, and the rest are the incarnations of God. The holy books of the Hindus are Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Purana, and the laws of Manu. And Puranas are the books that were written after the Mahabharata and Ramayana. Bhagavad Gita is the lecture that was delivered during the Mahabharata by Krishna to Arjuna. Arjuna was not in favor of the war. Mahabharata means the great war. He was not in favor of the war and he was a peacemaker. But Arjuna was concerned about his family, because on the other side were his Pitama and his cousins and his uncle and everybody. So he did not want to have a war with them, but Krishna delivered a lecture while he was driving his chariot. So that lecture was compiled as a holy book which is known as Bhagavad Gita. Ramayana is another book which is a story of Rama, which is incarnation of God Vishnu, and his wife Sita, those who lived in the wilderness for 12 years, and all that they did, that was composed and written as Ramayana, and that is another holy book of the Hindus. Mahabharata is the story of the Mahabharat, the big India, and when all the nations came together and they had a fight. So Mahabharata is the story of the big fight where Arjuna didn't want to fight, but Krishna made him fight. And then Purana is another text that was written, and the books of the law also are the holy books of the Hindus. The pantheon of the Hinduism includes Brahma, the creator god. Brahma, even though is the creator god, has a little lesser value in the pantheon of Hinduism, because Vishnu, who is the preserver god, has taken more respect in the Hindu system and is regarded greater than Brahma. And then Shiva is the destroyer god who lives on the Himalayas. And major goddesses are Parvati, Durga, and Lakshmi. And I'm going to show their pictures and talk more about them. This is Vishnu. Vishnu, during the Vedic period, was a minor god. And as I said it 2-3 times, that Agni was a greater god at that time. But then over a course of 2000 years, Vishnu emerged as the greatest god, who is the supreme being according to Hindu beliefs. So there he is. He has his weapon in his right hand. He is the supreme god. He has power over all the universe according to the Hinduism, and all the gods and goddesses are under him. Then this is Shiva. Shiva is the preserver and the destroyer now. He is regarded as a very, very high god, and he, according to the myth, lives in the Himalayas, and on top of Kailash Parbat, he sits on the skin of a lion or a tiger, and this trident is his weapon. And on the trident, you see there is a small, it's called Dumru. This is a small drum that he plays, and he dances. So according to Hindu belief, when he is dancing, that's how the universe is balanced, with his dance and with his Dumru. And when you see he has a snake, 1 or 2 snakes around him, and that is to the myth that when the creation was being taken place, the Shishnaga, or the snake, the big snake of the sea, did not want the creation to take place and was about to devour the new creation. So Shiva just sucked all the venom from the snake, and because of that he is all blue or black. He also has in the middle, right there is a stream. That is the stream where river Ganges flows from. When river Ganges was sent to the earth from the heavens, that's the belief, he stopped it in his deadlocks. These are called jata, these are called jatas or deadlocks. So it would not flood the earth and it would not destroy the whole thing. I'm going to show you a video at this time, and I think, Stuart, I would need your help for that. No, it's not the one. Lord Shiva. Right, this one. This one. Well, technology can be good and technology can be bad. It can hinder. While it's about to play, you can see Ganges river. Ganga is the right pronunciation, flowing from his jata, from his it did not come.
It's just loading. The
Computer is slow. Padmasana, the asana that in the Himalayas. And what is going on? The same, the word that was Om Shiva, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. All praise to Shiva. That's all praise. All right, so sorry about that. We'll get it better. This is the God Brahma, and the Supreme Being. So far, we have not determined who is the supreme being. The word used for the supreme being is Brahman or Atman. So he is the one who has created everything, including the Brahma. So first he created Brahma, which has three faces. So he has three different roles, and the supreme being, the Atman, created the Brahma, and then Brahma created the rest of the creation. No? Oh, unplug the sound. Okay. Then we have some goddesses, and this is the Parvati. Parvati was created by Brahma from the lotus, as you see, and she also has three faces, and she has many arms because she is also in other roles other than Parvati. She is the wife of Shiva. Shiva and Parvati live together eternally. And there is a story, there is another god needs to be introduced over here, that Shiva and Parvati lived together, and Shiva did not give her any child, so she rubbed her body and a child was born. But she hid the child from Shiva and became a teenager. One day Shiva came home and there was another male in the house, so he chopped off his head out of jealousy. Then Parvati told Shiva that that's your son, that's our son. So he asked his servants to go out to the jungle and find a matching head with the human being. Well, they couldn't find anybody who was matching with that human being. But when they were about to return, they found a head of an elephant. So they brought that elephant head to Shiva and Parvati. So he put that head on his son, and that became the elephant-looking child, which is called Ganesha. And that's also another god, which is a god of prosperity and wealth. Then there is Durga. Durga is the killer goddess, and about Hinduism is that there is good and there is evil, both exist together. And with the positive energy, there is also negative energy. So Durga is the goddess who is also known as Kali, K-A-L-I, and she is the goddess of destruction. She rides on a lion, on a tiger, and she has 10 arms, and she just destroys, she kills. And then Lakshmi. Lakshmi is the goddess of money. She is, throwing the money down. So she was also born out of lotus, and there is Ganesh or Ganpati, who is also the god of prosperity, as I told you, the birth story of Ganesha. And then I want to mention about the incarnations of Vishnu. And Vishnu became the greatest god, and there are 10 incarnations. Today I am going to talk about 3 incarnations of Vishnu. The first one was Matisa. Matisa was the fish at the time of the deluge. This is the fish. The story behind that is that there was a man, his name was Manu, and he was a righteous man. And he used to get up in the morning, go to the river, Ganges river, and praise and worship God, the Creator. And one day, as he was, doing the ritual of the water, and he picked up some water, there was a small fish in his palms. So as he was about to throw back the fish talked to him, and said, "Why are you throwing me back? I'm in your protection. I'm under your protection. In the river, the bigger fish is going to eat me up, so please protect me from the death." So he took the fish home and took a little pan and put some water in it and put the fish in it. And in the morning he saw that the fish is large and it has outgrown the pan. So he took a bigger pan and put the water in it, and the next morning the fish had outgrown that pan also. So he dug a hole a big hole and put water in it and put the fish in it, and next morning he sees that the fish has outgrown the hole. So he said something very nice which has become an idiom in the world literature. O fish, the rule of life is that you stretch your feet according to the sheet that you are covered with, but you keep on stretching your feet beyond your means, beyond the sheet. So what should I do with you? The fish said, take me, do something, I'm under your protection. So he said, okay, let me take you to the great sea and leave you there, so you have as much room as you need to become the bigger fish. So as he took the fish to the great sea, threw it in the water, suddenly the fish just started growing and growing and growing, and it became an enormous giant fish. So then Manu realized that this is no ordinary fish, this is God. So he bowed down before the God and he said, tell me what's going on. So God told him that in few days I'm going to bring a deluge on the earth. So you need to make a boat, and you and your family need to get into the boat. So that's the Noah of the Indian mythology. So Manu was told to make a boat. So he said, in this deluge, how my little boat is going to survive? He said, well, tie it with my whisker. You see the big whisker right there? Where is it? Oh. Okay, got it. So Vishnu tied the boat to the whisker of Matisha, and that's how Manu. So that's how Manu, who is the Noah of Indian mythology, and his family survived. So that was the first incarnation of Vishnu. And then he came. Okay, what's going on? It won't move. Okay. The next avatar or incarnation of Vishnu was Rama. Rama was the god that was born in Ayodhya, which is ancient name of a town near Delhi in India. So he was the firstborn of his father. His mother's name was Kushalya, which happens to be the name of my mother also. So his father had two more wives, and they wanted their sons to be the kings. And Bharat was the next one in line. So Kekai, who was the stepmother of Rama, asked her husband, who was Raja Bharat, to expel Rama and his wife Sita to the jungle for 12 years. So they were expelled, and that's called, they were in exile in India, various parts of India, including Pakistan. I happened to see one part of that where they lived few years. So when they were about to leave, Rama's younger brother Lakshmana also decided to go with them. So Lakshmana and Rama and Sita were in the wilderness for 12 years, and during that time a very interesting thing happened, that the king of Sri Lanka, Raja was a Rakshas who was not a good person, kidnapped Sita and took her to Sri Lanka. And there was a fight, and Rama and Lakshmana attacked Sri Lanka with the help of the monkey god Hanuman, and they threw the stones in the sea and made a road and crossed the sea with those roads, and the army of monkeys and army of bear along with the army of human beings went to Sri Lanka and destroyed the king and his kingdom and brought back Sita, and then they were reunited after many, many years. Then the third incarnation is Krishna. At the time of Mahabharata, about 15 to 1000 year BC, a town named Hastinapur was the capital of India, and it was a kingdom that was very flourished, and Kauravas and Pandavas lived over there. Pandavas were the 5 brothers who were entitled to have the kingdom, but the Kauravas, the eldest one was Duryodhan, and he had 100 other brothers. So there were 100 brothers. They wanted to have the kingdom. So there was a big fight, and Krishna came from Dwarka and from Mathura, and he became the chariot driver of Arjuna, who was the main warrior. As in the early part I said that he drove his chariot, and when Arjuna didn't want to have the war against his family, he talked to him, and what he said became a holy book known as Bhagavad Gita. The ways to attain salvation are the karma marg, and there are 3: bhakti marg and the vidya marg. Marg means way. So the karma marg is that you do work. You are familiar with the word karma, that whatever you do, it would follow you. You do a good job, you do good action, you would be rewarded with a good action. You do bad action, you would be rewarded with a bad action. The book Mahabharata, which is the story of the war, is about karma. Because when Arjuna did not want to have fight against his family, Krishna urged him. He said, this is your karma. Right now the war is between good and evil, and your karma, your duty is to act right. So war at this time is a righteous war. So go ahead and pick up the arrow and shoot your cousins and shoot your family. So he is teaching him karma. And I have mentioned that the war was between Kauravas and Pandavas, and Arjuna and Krishna are the main character of the Mahabharata. And we will try to play the video again, Stuart, if for few seconds, just for few seconds. It's worth to look at these videos, and next time what we will do is have them either separately or
उसी शक्ति से उन्मत्त होकर वो एक दिन मेरे पास द्वारिका आया था।
This is Krishna.
हे द्वारकाधीश, मेरे पिताश्री गुरु द्रोणाचार्य ने मुझ पर अपार कृपा की है। मेरे तुनीर को घातक से घातक अस्त्रों और शस्त्रों से भर दिया।
Was Krishna.
हाँ, इतने पर भी मेरी शस्त्र ग्रहण करने की इच्छा समाप्त नहीं हुई। इसलिए उन्होंने एक महाभयंकर अस्त्र ब्रह्मशिर मुझे प्रदान किया, जिसका सम्मान देवता करते हैं। आज वही अस्त्र मेरे तुनीर में ऐसे ही पड़ा हुआ है।
This is Krishna.
हाँ यदुकुल श्रेष्ठ, अब मैं
He was the king, but he came down to help his cousin who was Arjuna and became his chariot driver.
कोई संदेह नहीं है अश्वत्थामा, बल्कि ये तो बड़ी खुशी की बात है।
परंतु मैं अभी इतना खुश नहीं हुआ हूँ द्वारिकाधीश।
परंतु क्यों?
क्योंकि मेरे तुनीर में जितने भी अस्त्र शस्त्र हैं, उनसे पूरी पृथ्वी पर विजय प्राप्त कर सकता हूँ। परंतु देवता, यक्ष, गंधर्व और नाग लोकों पर विजय प्राप्त करने के लिए मेरे पास शक्तियां पर्याप्त नहीं है। मैं उन पर भी विजय प्राप्त करके अजय बनना चाहता हूँ।
He's saying that all the instruments of war that I have are good enough to kill the human beings, but I need the supreme power. So he, Krishna, being the Lord, is going to grant him the power over
तो फिर?
all the
मैं
creatures,
आपको
that he would
दान
have
देना
his
चाहता हूँ।
arrow would be able to kill the
ओह, तो
angels and
तुम
demons
मुझे
and rakshas
दान
and
देना
human beings
चाहते
and
हो?
everything.
हाँ, मैं
Let's
आपको
stop this
वरदान में
one,
अपना
please.
ब्रह्मशीर अस्त्र देना चाहता हूँ और आपसे सुदर्शन चक्र प्राप्त करना चाहता हूँ।
Yes, I'm glad. All right, thank you. Well, that was the karma marg, and that is that one has to do the right karma in order to be right person, and if the person does not act right, that person can be born as an animal, as a bird, or as a tree. So in order to do the right karma, one have to be in his right mind, and one has to do the right karma. And the second way of attaining the salvation or mukti, mukti is the Hindi word, is the bhakti marg. And bhakti means worship. So worship can be corporate, worship can be individual, and worship can be done to Vishnu, worship can be done to Krishna, worship can be done to any of the gods. That's a very fluid situation in the Hinduism, that there are many denominations. You know, there are many temples of Hindus right here in Houston, and they can worship any one god. The story of Manu I have already shared with you, that his bhakti, his worship was so much appreciated that God Vishnu took incarnation and saved him and his life, his family from the deluge. And also Bhagavad Gita talks about the ways of attaining mukti, or the attaining salvation through the bhakti, which is the bhakti of Krishna basically. And I'm not going to fool with the video this time, because it just slows down the talk. So the first part to attain mukti is the karma marg, and the second way is the bhakti marg, which is the worship, and the next one is vidya marg. Vidya means knowledge. Vid is the word which is a basic root of Sanskrit, that is Ved, and Veda is the next word from there. It means to know, to gain knowledge. So Vidya during the period of Veda was that people just left their homes, especially the Brahmins, and they just devoted their lives to attain knowledge. They thought that by attaining knowledge, they were getting their salvation, they were getting close to the Atman, and they were attaining mukti. And when the Vedic period ended for after almost 1,000 years, the philosophy and the wisdom became the norm of attaining knowledge. And that period is called Upanishad period, and Upanishads are the philosophical part of the Vedas, and they deal with the wisdom and the philosophy of the religion and of self and of human being and their relationship with the Supreme Being. The purpose of Vidya is also to attain mukti, to attain salvation. So there are three ways to attain salvation in Hinduism: karma marg, bhakti marg, and vidya marg, the knowledge part of the similarities in between Hindus and Christians are that Hindus are in need of God, and that is a basic human quest for the last 7,000-10,000 ever since human beings have been created according to the religions, despite from the science. There is a common thing between Christianity and Hinduism, and the story I shared you of the deluge is Noah. We have a Noah and they have a Manu. And Trimurti and Trinity. We Christians believe in triune God, 3 persons of Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. They believe in Vishnu and Shiva and Krishna. Nowadays, it's hard to, for Hindus even, it's hard to say who is the supreme God. Is it Vishnu, is it Krishna, or is it Shiva? Because they say that Vishnu is also Shiva, Shiva is also Krishna. And we are familiar with Krishna movement, Hare Krishna movement in the 50s, how Krishna emerged as a very big god of Hinduism. But that's a common element, I think, that we believe in Trinity and they believe in 3 gods, although we believe in one God. And then pursuit of eternal life, that the quest of the Hindus, just like us, is the quest of eternal life. And they want to see what's going on, how can we attain salvation, and how can we get one with the Supreme Being. Hindus in Houston, there are temples. There is one big temple in Sugar Land. Stafford, sorry, Stafford. Magnificent. And the other one is in Pearland. That is also magnificent. Millions of dollars were spent on these 2 temples. And then off of Eldridge, there are 3-4 temples right there. And in downtown, he's a white person. He's a white convert toward Hinduism, has been Pandit of that temple for 30 plus years. And then there is India Culture Center in Stafford also. Their social life is very, very rich, and they like to dance. That's part of their culture, that's part of their religion. They like music, that is part of worship, that's part of their culture and life and everything. And if you go on Hillcraft, you will find all kinds of Indian cuisines, especially on Hillcraft, but in Sugar Land, in Stafford, in Woodlands, or anywhere. And you can taste, the Indian food over there. And then there are boutiques and grocery stores, mainly on Hillcraft. Hillcraft is like an Indian street or Indian Pakistani street. And besides that, there are grocery stores all over Greater Houston. I would stop here, and if you have any questions, I would answer.